All right. All right, everybody. It is 5:31 p.m. on the 24th of February 2026, and therefore it's time to commence this council meeting. Now, for those who are tuning in, so I'm going to declare this meeting open at 5:31 p.m. I welcome councillors and management and members of the public attending tonight's meeting, both in person and virtually. And I note that Councillor Dr. Owen Guest is joining the meeting virtually. We can see you on the big screen here at Town Hall, Councillor Guest, and you are looking good, I'm pleased to report. For members of the public who are tuning in and thinking that this does not look like the council chamber at Melbourne Town Hall, you'd be right. We're actually down in the Commons, in the foyer of the building. We had a little bit of a rain and leakage issue with that torrential downpour earlier today. So we've played it safe and we're down here in the Commons, and it's quite a bit emptier than it normally is, certainly compared to a future Melbourne committee meeting. But we are here and we have business in front of us. So we are meeting on the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung country, and I respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we govern, the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung and Boonwurrung peoples of the Kulin, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. We acknowledge and honour the unbroken spiritual, cultural and political connection they have maintained to this unique place for more than 2,000 generations. This meeting is being streamed live, and the recording will be published on Council's website by close of business tomorrow or as soon as practicable. The unconfirmed minutes of this meeting will also be available from the City of Melbourne's website as soon as practicable. I request that all mobile phones be turned off or to silent for the duration of the meeting. Now, I'm going to make a statement on the Milan Winter Olympics. Before we commence, I would like to formally extend my congratulations to one of our sister cities, the City of Milan, and in particular to Mayor Giuseppe Sala on their outstanding success in hosting the recent Winter Olympics. Councillor Camillo has recently visited Milan and had the opportunity to meet with city officials and hear firsthand about the extensive preparations undertaken for the Games. Thank you, Councillor Camillo. You went out of your way during personal leave to do that, and we thank you. I would also like to acknowledge and congratulate the athletes from Australia, and especially those from Melbourne who represented us with distinction. I would also like to wish Australia's Paralympians every success as they prepare to compete in the upcoming Winter Olympics. The City of Melbourne warmly congratulates the City of Milan. We're very proud of our record medal haul and the remarkable success of our team at the Games. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 2, disclosure of conflicts of interest. If any councillor has either a material or general conflict of interest as defined in the Local Government Act in relation to a matter to be considered by council, please disclose that interest at the time the item is before us. Moving on to agenda item 3, confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. I call on a councillor to move a motion adopting the minutes of council meeting number 14 held on Tuesday the 9th of December 2025. Thank you, Councillor Gladys Liu, and seconded Councillor David Griffiths. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that carried unanimously. We move to agenda item 4, matters arising from the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any matters arising from the previous meeting that any person wishes to raise? No. We have correspondence and submissions. The following submissions have been received in accordance with Council's governance rules. In relation to agenda item 6.5, ALGA, we have items of correspondence from Jewish Advocates for Understanding Anti-Semitism, Annie Mokotau, Rebecca Parker, and Dr. Tillman Ruff from ICANN, Nobel Prize winner. In relation to agenda item 7.1, notice of motion, Councillor Dr. Olivia Ball, maintain Vic Health its independence and funding. We have an item of correspondence, you'll be pleased to know, Councillor Dr. Ball, from Rebecca Parker. We move on to the status of confidential items. Does any councillor wish to discuss the confidential status of any of the confidential items listed in the public agenda? I can see a hand up there on the screen, and that's Councillor Dr. Owen Guest. Councillor Guest.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Lord Mayor. I think as a few people will be aware, I've been keen to raise the bar of transparency here at the City of Melbourne. And in the sense of, I guess, if you like, baby steps, I'd like to recommend that one item from what we currently have within closed session be moved to open session, and that would be item 14.4. I was about to continue, but I won't with the title of the said item in closed session, but I don't think it meets in any meaningful sense, if you like, the criteria of what should be in confidence. Difficult to say more without saying it openly, but I think there is a strong case that the public would like to understand what's going on there, and I don't think there's going to be any material damage if we discuss it in open session.
All right, thank you for that, Councillor Guest. I'm just conferring with our Head of Government Business, David Thompson, about how far we can go with this debate at this point in the meeting, or whether we need to defer debate about the status of the confidentiality of 14.4 to when we get to confidential business later on, or any other administrative options which might be available to us at this moment, procedural options that might be available at this point.
Through you, Lord Mayor, recognising that management has designated the report confidential information at this particular point in time, I would suggest that councillors would benefit from advice from management as to why the report is confidential. I would suggest that conversation takes place during the confidential part of the meeting, so that there is the ability to speak with regard to what the exact matters are, rather than in nebulous or non-meaning terms. And then if council forms the view that that particular item should be considered in open council, which is the right of council to do so, I would suggest then that there is a procedural motion moved by councillors to bring that item into open council business, and therefore a frank and full discussion can take place amongst the councillors.
Having noted in this open forum your concerns about the status of 14.4 as a confidential item, are you happy to proceed with the process suggested by David Thompson, Councillor Guest?
Cumbersome as it is, yes, let's progress in that way and see how we go.
All right, thank you, and thank you for your interest in these governance and transparency matters, Councillor Guest. All right, we move on to agenda item 5, reports from committee. There are no reports from committee, so we move on to agenda item 6, reports from management. There are 6 reports from management, and before we move into those, I'm going to commence with a procedural motion to change the order of business, and I'm going to propose a procedural motion to change the order of business to consider agenda item 6.5, Australian Local Government Association National General Assembly, June 2026, as the first report from management. I call for a councillor to second that motion. Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. We're just bringing this motion forward, this particular agenda item forward, because there are some councillors who do need to leave early, so we just want to make sure that we can deal with this item early in the evening. So I will now call on all those in favour of the motion that's on the screen there, calling for this change in the agenda, procedural motion, to raise a hand. That is passed. So we will now move to agenda item, passed unanimously. We now move to agenda item 6.5, ALGA National General Assembly 2026. Would council like a presentation in relation to this item? No. In that case, I am going to... Can we just bring the motion up on the screen, please? Yeah, so I believe there's an alternate motion, because we want to try and split the motions to go to ALGA and the travel arrangements for the ALGA conference and have them voted on separately, and we might even split them further if required, but we'll start with that. Okay, so let's leave the travel arrangements we'll do those second. So we're beginning now with approving the submissions of the motions included in attachment 1. Can we please bring up attachment 1 there as well now, so that we can just see that the amended version of those motions is what's going to be before us. Okay. Can I just question or ask the question, is the alternative motion around 4.1 and 4.2 with government business, so that we can have that moved as the alternate? I know it's been discussed amongst councillors, so it should be okay. Emailed at 5:04. Who was that sent by? Thomas, okay. Can't see Thomas here in the chamber. We've got it? Okay, excellent. No problems. Take your time. I'm not sure. Is there any difficulty in opening the email? Just getting the right one up? Okay. Thanks, DLM. Is that up? Okay. Okay. Elizabeth, I believe you can see it on your screen there. We just can't see it on the screen here. Okay. Can you just scroll a little bit back up, please? Okay. All right.
To my mind, it is big. Sorry, Councillor Biss, could you just scroll back up for a moment? Once that's in blue. Thank you.
Yep, I'm happy with that draft. Yep, good. Okay. So we now got before us the productivity motion for ALGA and the AI. Oh, they're all there. Oh, can we continue scrolling down, please? Just so we can.
If you go to the top, Lord Mayor, it'll say
Yes.
attachment 1, which would be all of the motions, but subject to these
Subject
changes.
to those amendments. Okay. All right, so I'm going to move those motions, this motion that's before us, with this alternate motion. I'm looking for a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Scott. We have, as happens every year at the City of Melbourne and in Australia, an ALGA conference being held in Canberra. It is indeed the case that the City of Melbourne, I think, has attended the ALGA meeting every year since its inception. It is, and I've got to say, as Mayor, I strongly support Melbourne's participation in the 2026 National General Assembly. This is our opportunity once a year to shape the national conversation, not just respond to it. There is a meeting of local government leaders from across the country, and indeed the engagement by the federal government, opposition and national policymakers is very high at the ALGA conference in my experience. Of course, in the case of our capital cities, we generate nearly 90% of Australia's GDP, and we need governance and funding models that reflect that reality. And this motion around capital cities and a productivity commission review is all about ensuring that we've got the right governance and funding arrangements in place to ensure that our cities thrive. In terms of AI infrastructure, I think not a day goes by where you don't see a new news report about the extraordinary rollout of AI infrastructure across Australia. That is something that we welcome as part of the advancement of the Australian economy, and we recognise the benefits of AI to humanity. But of course, we want to make sure that that rollout occurs in a sustainable way. And in particular, we want to ensure there's proper policy frameworks in place, particularly around energy consumption and water. In terms of the other motion that's up, that's going to ALGA around nuclear disarmament. Melbourne has a proud place in nuclear disarmament history with the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, ICAN, being founded here in Melbourne. And of course, ICAN was awarded the 2017 Nobel Peace Prize, an extraordinary accomplishment for the city of that happened here in the City of Melbourne. So supporting the UN Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons reflects that legacy and reinforces Melbourne's role as a city that stands for global cooperation and human security. And very sadly, matters of nuclear proliferation are once again on the agenda around the world, with Vladimir Putin in Russia indicating that he intends to no longer be his country to no longer be a party to the nuclear non-proliferation treaty, and the US indicating that if Russia's going down that path, then they will consider doing the same. So these are matters that are of great importance around the world, great importance at the city, and of course there is a long, long history of people, power and cities being involved in these debates. And so it will be very important to see that motion considered at ALGA as well. I'm sure other councillors may wish to comment on some of the other motions that are going to ALGA, but now I'll turn to Councillor Scott, who is our seconder.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The ALGA conference occurs toward the end of June this year, and I have to say, dying to get to Canberra in June is not necessarily something that we'll strive for, given a daily maximum of 11 degrees and a minimum temperature of about 0. So having said that, though, this is a very important conference, and we have 4 very important items on the agenda, which the Lord Mayor has articulated, but just in case you missed it, importantly, the National Anti-Racism Framework, really important for us to put forward our position and support that. Melbourne's productivity as a capital city, the nuclear prohibition of nuclear weapons, and of course, something that we've talked a lot about in this place, the importance of AI centres. So a very important conference, very important that we attend, and I have great pleasure in seconding this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? Councillor Dr. Ball.
Sorry, thank you, Lord Mayor. I wish to speak particularly about 2 of these 4 motions that we'll be putting to ALGA if this passes tonight. The first of those being the support for the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. It's worth recounting a brief history that brings us to this point. As the Lord Mayor has said, in 2017, the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, which was founded and remains headquartered here in Melbourne, won Australia's, I think, first and only Nobel Peace Prize for its work leading the world campaign to end nuclear weapons. And the following year, in 2018, the City of Melbourne joined hundreds of municipal governments worldwide in condemning nuclear weapons. And then in 2021, ALGA unanimously adopted a motion calling on the Australian government to sign and ratify the treaty. Last year, this council affirmed this city's long-standing anti-nuclear stance. Now, over 40 years, this has been a nuclear-free city, and requested the Lord Mayor and the CEO write to the Prime Minister and other relevant ministers, urging them to sign and ratify the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons without further delay. And all but one councillor here tonight voted in favour of that motion last August. Since that last ALGA motion about the treaty, there has been a change of federal government. So it's time that ALGA reiterated its call. This year's ALGA meeting is on a theme of resilience at local government level. This is emphatically a local government issue. Local governments are responsible for many services that would be catastrophically disrupted in a nuclear attack, rendering any meaningful health and humanitarian emergency response impossible to implement at an effective scale. And this includes a sobering list of functions that we would shoulder in the event of such an attack. The maintenance of safely navigable roads, bridges and walkways, managing evacuations and providing places of shelter and refuge, the collection and disposal of vast amounts of debris and waste that would result from such a detonation, assisting access to food and essential services and supplies for the surviving population, water supply, hygiene and sewage disposal infrastructure that comes under local government control, disposal of large numbers of corpses and mass burials, transport and communications infrastructure, and communicating with the population and maintaining social order. Local governments always step in natural disasters and would have to step in the event of a nuclear disaster. The existence of nuclear weapons is a threat and manifestly against the interests of this government and our constituents. We should reiterate tonight our motion of August last year and reiterate ALGA's resolution 5 years ago to press our federal government to ratify this treaty without further delay. I want to thank ICANN for their work and commend this portion of the motion to all my colleagues. And if I may speak to the final motion on the attachment, which is the National Anti-Racism Framework. It's not something that would be well understood or known. So if I may, having recently banned hate speech, we need a coherent national strategy for actually reducing racism. And luckily, the Australian Human Rights Commission has met this moment of need with an evidence-based program of measures thoroughly subject to expert and community consultation over a period of 5 years, which is ready to go. It's called the National Anti-Racism Framework, and it was launched at the end of 2024. It's a whole of society approach to eliminating racism within a 10-year time frame. This roadmap is for governments, businesses and non-government organisations to take anti-racism action within their sphere of influence. The 63 recommendations in the framework cover our legal and justice systems, healthcare systems, workplaces, media and the arts, and critically, data collection. And this motion calls on the federal government to prioritise implementing the anti-racism framework, fully funding the 63 recommendations, and asks ALGA to work with the Human Rights Commission, which is the author of the framework, to identify the measures that local governments should take and support us in doing so. I think there can be no dispute that this is tremendously important, as much at this time, if more so than ever, and I commend that to my colleagues also. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ball. Any other councillors like to speak to this item? I can see Councillor Owen Guest has his hand raised on screen. Over to you, Councillor Guest.
Thank you, Nick. Look, I'm supportive of 75% plus of this motion. I know I'm sometimes deemed to be the negative one when it comes to travel, but I do think there is certainly the potential for the bringing together of our local governments, that should have a productive outcome. I think your first two motions are excellent, but I do feel the third one regarding nuclear is one of the first things when you hear criticism of not just the Melbourne City Council, but councils in general. You'll hear from people in the street going, what the hell is the council getting involved for issues like this when they should be focusing on we the residents. So, you shouldn't be surprised if people say, if you can't honour your promises on rates freezes and you want to increase expenditures such as this, it's a tough pill to swallow for Melbourne's ratepayers. I think this sort of topic makes us look like dills, quite frankly. But, speaking of business and artificial intelligence, absolutely the topics we should be talking about. But I do not see what we can do productively in the space of nuclear, and I hear that sort of sentiment echoed over a long time.
Okay, would any other councillors like
Chair, would you like to fact check the claim that we have not honoured a promise on a rates rebate? That can't be left uncontested?
Well, I do get a right of reply at the conclusion of the debate, but we're not at that point yet, I don't believe. Would any of the councillors like to speak to this agenda item? No? Okay, well, Councillor Andrew Rouse, I was expecting you to. I've been waiting.
Why not? Why not? Elga, for those of you watching at home, this is where councils from across the country come together to vote on a national advocacy agenda that goes to federal government which is, of course, very important for us in local government to be able to have that voice up to the highest level of government in the country. Some of the things that we voted on in the last couple of years revolve around housing supply funding, infrastructure investment, disaster relief, cyber security, road funding formulas, telecommunications infrastructure, homelessness coordination. So all really, really important things that affect all of us across the country. I note that some people might try and argue that because some of these motions touch on national or global policy that we, a capital city council, should stay at home, which is an interesting way of looking at it, because when there's a heat wave, as we've had recently, or a flood, as we've seen in sunny Melbourne this afternoon, it's local government who needs to respond to that. When cyber security hits a council system, it's our services that are affected. When housing pressure builds, it's our planning department on the front line having to deal with that. And Melbourne is not a small rural shire with 3,000 people in one roundabout. It's a global city, it's a capital city, it's a multicultural city, it's an Aboriginal city, it's an economic engine, it's a leader in innovation, and capital cities, as you said, Lord Mayor, rightfully, create a disproportionate share of the national GDP. So the suggestion that we shouldn't be in the room when national funding formulas or policy frameworks are shaped is certainly obscure to me. If influencing one infrastructure setting brings even a fraction more funding to Melbourne, the return on investment is quite extraordinary. And as Councillor Scott pointed out, some people will be tempted to spin this. Councillors going on holiday to Canberra, the Monaco of Eden Monaro or the Ibiza of the ACT. I think Canberra in June is certainly a place where we send councillors to be punished in the freezing cold up there. But no, the uncomfortable truth in all of this is if you're not at the table, you are on the agenda, and I am very happy to support the motions that councillors have put forward. I note as well, you mentioned that ICANN was Melbourne's only Nobel Peace Prize. I was looking up a bit more information about that today, and did you know that since the formation of ICANN in Melbourne many decades ago, we've seen an 80% reduction in the global number of nuclear weapons, which I think is phenomenal. There's 80% less things that governments around the world need to keep track of, and I think if there is just even a minuscule chance that that might happen at some point in the future, local governments, as we've said before, will be the ones that will be shouldering a massive burden in dealing with the fallouts for that. That will be one of 300 plus motions that will be discussed across the entire conference, and I think that's an effective and positive outcome for the people of Melbourne across all local councils across Australia. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rast. Would any other councillors like to speak to this motion? Well, I might exercise my right of reply then as mover and just make the observation that listening to the debate this evening, you might think travelling to Canberra in June is like being sent to Siberia or something such as the cold. Certainly, having lived in Canberra for some time in my life, I can say that when that wind comes across the Brindabellas in June, it can be very cold, although not quite Siberia, perhaps. Councillor Guest, I think, has been consistent when it comes to this council voting on matters relating to nuclear weapons, because I believe he did vote against a previous motion that he abstained when this council group previously voted in support of us writing to the Prime Minister on the issue of nuclear weapons. And as we've heard from Dr. Ball, local government has a very, very long history of activity in this area. And if you read the submission from Dr. Tillman Ruff that I'm sure Councillor Guest has read as part of his preparation for this evening's debate, he would see the importance of this motion. And when you've got the winner of a Nobel Peace Prize, whose organisation resides here in Melbourne, commending us on this and urging us to take this matter to ALGA, I hope people see the clear need and importance of us doing so, as well as the other important matters that we're raising, as well as, of course, literally the hundreds of matters which will be voted on at that conference. And then finally, we did hear during the debate from Councillor Guest that this council I think the statement made was not delivered on a rates freeze. But of course, Councillor Guest, as our chair of Finance and Governance, you would know, and I know you're very proud of the fact that we delivered, because you led it, a effective freeze on rates in our first budget. Part of us offering a rebate and delivering on an effective freeze. So I can only assume that you misspoke on that point. All right, so now put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Rouse, Councillor Camillo, No, oh, sorry, Councillor Guest's hand's gone up, so it's unanimous.
Can I say something? I'd like to vote yes on the caveat that people won't turn around and say, but you voted for this. Obviously, I'm in favour of 3/4 of it.
Yeah, okay, well, if I see your hand up, we're declaring it carried unanimously. So is your hand up, Councillor Guest?
Yeah,
all right,
it
it's
is.
carried unanimously. There we go. We move on. All right, wonderful. Now we return to the... we now move to the second part of this agenda item, which we've split, which is that council resolves, and this is where we nominate councillors to attend and represent our city. So I believe by agreement it will be Councillor Mark Scott, Councillor Andrew Rouse and Councillor Nicholas Rees. If that is correct, then under our rules, those councillors should declare a conflict and step out from the debate. So, Councillor Scott, can I take it as read that you agree with my analysis there? I think you do need to say it so it's on the record.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord Mayor. I will declare a conflict of interest on this vote, given that I will receive a benefit.
Being sent to Siberia, Canberra.
Going to beautiful sunny Canberra in June.
Okay, and Councillor Rouse?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I too will declare a conflict of interest owing to the fact that if this was voted in, there'd be considerable preparation time, of course, which would be or could be considered a material loss to myself.
All right, thank you for that, Councillor Rouse. And now I'm going to declare... All right, we might remove my name from the list of councillors attending, and if there's a decision closer to the ALGA conference. No, we don't. Okay. All right, well, I'm going to, yes, all right, leave my name there and we can finalise that travel arrangement. We can amend it if required close to the date. So out of abundance of caution, please leave my name on the screen there, and I therefore have to declare a conflict on this item now, given I am a beneficiary of the motion under the interpretation of our current rules.
Lord Mayor, I also have a conflict because I've received a campaign donation from you.
And I also ditto the conflict of interest.
In the absence of the Lord Mayor and the Deputy Lord Mayor, I would be happy. I will nominate. No, he doesn't. He's not present in the meeting. I will seek a seconder for my nomination of Councillor Lee Liu to chair this item. Would anyone like to second that? Thank you. David Griffiths has seconded. Sorry, Raf. Let's vote on that procedural motion for Councillor Lee Liu to chair this item. Councillor Lee Liu will chair this item. Anyone in favour? That's unanimous. Councillor Lee Liu.
Thank you. Happy to have to take the chair. As it's stated, this is agenda item 6.5, ALGA, and stating the councillors who's going to that. I'm happy to move that motion. I'm looking for a seconder. Raf? Councillor Camillo. Would the councillors like a presentation on this? I'm assuming no. Great. And I'm happy to speak to it. Yes, I think thank you to Councillor Scott, Rouse and the Lord Mayor on representing us, and looking forward for them to represent us and also the constituents. Thank you. Seconder, would you like to speak to the motion? No. No? Okay, great. If there's no other things, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those for, please raise your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you. And can you please ask the Lord Mayor and his Mayor bench to come back?
All right, we now return to our agenda, and the next item before us is 6.1, Quarterly Performance Report, Council Plan Key Activities, Finances and Capital Reform Program Q2 25-26. Would councillors like a presentation in relation to this agenda item? No. In that case, I'm calling on a councillor to move them. I'll request the motion please be put up on the screen so we can see what we're considering. I'm looking for a councillor to move that. Councillor Philip Leilou. I'll second it. Back to you, Philip. Councillor Leilou.
Thank you. More than happy to move this. This is the quarterly performance report, which notes all our key activities, finance and capital programs for Q2 of 25-26. It's always a good read because it just shows what the council has been doing against this budget. But just wanted to highlight some key things. Out of the 31 key activities in the budget, 97% are on track. And the 3% on hold. And given the magnitude and scope of our work, I think that's pretty compelling. I also note that the underlying surplus variance is 0.4 million, so 400,000 variable, with an actual of 4.1 million compared to a budget of 3.7 million. And has, at 31st December 2025, City of Melbourne's total cash balance, which is always the key things, it was 146 million, comprised of 26 million available cash and 120 million in investment cash. And our current borrowing stands at 110 million, as per the budget 2025-6, and our budget limit is capped at 210 million. I just wanted to say thank you to all the team, especially to the infrastructure team for the hard work they do. I know it's not easy in this particular climate and Timex. But looking forward to keep on hitting those markers, and looking forward to building more things for Melburnians and also delivering more. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Leilou. As seconder, I concur with everything you've said there. This report makes for good reading here at the City. In addition to the points you've made, we've delivered 86.3 million in works against a planned 99.4 million budget, which is very good progress on the year. I also was very pleased to read the data on total shopfront vacancy across the municipality, which continues to trend down, now at 9.2%, with more than 90% of shopfronts across the city now occupied. We are set up very well with a vibrant mix of retail offerings, and it's fair to say we are a long way ahead of where we were a few years ago on that score. So I'm very happy to support the report tonight. Would any of the councillors like to speak to this item? No? In that case, Councillor Guest.
Very briefly, thank you. Look, firstly, Philip, thank you for filling in for me this evening. I appreciate that. I just make one further point. When it comes to the Capital Works program, I look forward on behalf of us all in the next 2 months for an improved reporting framework where we'll be able to match delivery with expenditure in an improved fashion, and I know it's being worked on, and I expect we'll see it in about 2 months. So I think we can all look forward to that, and otherwise I concur with everything that's been said. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you very much, Councillor Guest. Any other councillors wish to speak to this item? In that case, I'll put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. I declare that carried unanimously. We move on to agenda item 6.2, Queen Victoria Market Pty Ltd Annual Report FY 24-25. Would councillors like a presentation in relation to this item? No. In that case, I call on our government business team to please put the motion up on the screen so we can see it. Do we have a mover for that motion? Thank you, Councillor Philip Leilou. I'm happy to second. Back to you, Councillor Leilou.
Very simply, this was already approved by Council at the 30th of September. This is supposed to be a council meeting, so it's just coming to Council for noting, and it's one of our subsidiary protests.
Thank you, Councillor Leilou. I concur. As seconder, I also note 8.5 million visitors over the year at what is the Southern Hemisphere's largest open-air market. We should be very proud of everything that has been achieved at QVM. So extend my thanks to the Chair, Jane Fenton, and to the Board and to CEO Matt Elliott. I'm happy to note the report before us tonight. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? No. In that case, I'll put the matter to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. I declare... Oh, I can't see Councillor Guest. Government business. Could we please adjust the screens there? I do need to see him. He's turned his camera... Oh, okay. All right. We declare that carried unanimously, noting Councillor Guest has left the meeting. Okay, we move on to agenda item 6.3, Queen Victoria Market Precinct Renewal Program Quarterly Report. Would councillors like a presentation in relation to this item? No. In that case, I'm going to ask for government business to please bring that motion on the screen. I am happy to move this in my capacity as lead in the infrastructure portfolio. Looking for a second. Thank you, Councillor Raphael Camillo. In speaking to this motion, I'm very happy to see that the renewal program continues to progress well. Total expenditure since 2013 now stands at $212 million. The Traders Shed is very, very close to structural completion, which is a major milestone. It will be so great to see this building complete. It is quite the feat of engineering. I have visited it several times, and it will be an absolutely critical cog in the modern market that we are building, a market that is fit for purpose for the 21st century. There are other significant works underway, water main upgrades, public realm planning, and we cannot wait to see Gurrowa Place starting to pop out of the ground, or at least a big hole being dug there later this year. I'm proud of all the hard work being done by the team to deliver on this renewal project. Happily to note the quarterly update. Councillor Camillo.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm pleased to second the motion before us this evening as a deputy for the portfolio leading infrastructure. I'm very pleased to see the continued transformation of the Queen Victoria Market Precinct has been progressing. As the report notes, a key milestone has been reached this quarter with a structural works now complete on the 7-level trade shed. Internal basement fit-out and service installation are advancing well, while operational transition planning is already underway to support traders. I also see improvements on the ground. The Delhi Lane has undergone a significant uplift, delivering better amenity, lighting, and importantly, security. Create a safer and more welcome space for traders, visitors, and workers alike. I know has more work to do in terms of safety in there, and I heard some complaints this week, but hopefully this can address some other issues that we face in there. I would like to thank all of the team involved in delivering these works and commend the motion before us this evening. Back to you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Camillo. Thank you for your ongoing interest in this important infrastructure project. Would any of the councillors like to speak to this item? No. In that case, I will put the matter to the vote. I'm noting Councillor Guest's return. All those in favour of agenda item 6.3, please raise your hand. I declare that carried unanimously. We move on to agenda item 6.4, additional instrument of delegation, council to members of council staff, Planning and Environment Act 1987. Would councillors like a presentation in relation to this item? No. In that case, I'm going to request that a motion please be put on the screen for those here in this chamber and those following at home to be able to see. Yes, that is the one. There's quite a bit to it. Do we have a mover for this motion? It falls under the Finance and Governance portfolio. Councillor Owen Guest, I'll take you as the mover, and I'm happy to second. Back to you, Councillor Dr. Owen Guest.
As I'm here, look, I think in word of explanation for those who are looking at this delegation schedule, this does not change delegation in terms of any expenditure for managers within the organisation. Is it essentially who is authorised to speak with the planning minister? I'm putting that in layman's terms because it's an incredibly long document, but I think it can be summarised to that. And I am happy to put forward support this motion.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Guest, and as seconder, I concur. This is an administrative tidy-up to ensure that as a result of recent planning law changes at the state level, we're updating our internal delegations to make sure our staff can keep doing their day-to-day planning work legally and efficiently. Importantly, this doesn't take power away from council, and there are no financial implications. So I know you're happy about that, Councillor Guest. So we can still call in any matter we want to decide. This is simply about enabling smooth, lawful operations and being clear on good governance and clear roles. So any other councillors wish to speak to this item? No, in that case, we'll put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's unanimous. Motion's passed. We move on to agenda item 6.5, referred documents from 14 November 2025 ARC, also known as Audit and Risk Committee. Would councillors like a presentation in relation to this item? No. In that case, I'm going to request that a motion be brought up on the screen for us all to see. No, that is not the one. We've changed our order. That is the one, Audit and Risk Committee. I'm looking for a mover of that motion. Thank you, Councillor Griffiths. And a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Philip Leilou. Back to you, Councillor Griffiths.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. A fairly straightforward motion here, which is receiving the unconfirmed minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting from last year, noting that we have actually met since then, and the work of the Audit and Risk Committee goes on. As we've noted many times in the past, it's a very important committee, and as you can see from the report and the minutes in front of us, a very wide range of topics covered. And as ever, I'd like to thank both my fellow councillors on that committee, being Councillor Leilou and Councillor Dr. Guest, the independent members of that committee who bring a wealth of knowledge and experience, and of course officers who bring all of it together. So with that short speech, happy to move the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Griffiths. Councillor Leilou.
Happy to. Also, just wanted to thank all our independent members who's done an amazing job. I also note that they also find great interest in when City of Melbourne GMs and also teams actually come in and actually give the team. I want to thank also Alison for also providing a lot of the updates, and David and the team for providing a very well needed support to the independent members, and looking forward to the next ARC.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Councillor Leilou. Any other speakers? No. In that case, we'll put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Now we've just lost Councillor Guest. Okay, so I'm going to note Councillor Guest no longer in the meeting, and I'm then going to declare that unanimously passed by councillors present. All right, that concludes items, reports from management. We move now to agenda item 7, general business. And there is one item of general business, and that's a notice of motion, 7.1, a notice of motion, Councillor Dr. Olivia Ball, maintain Vic Health, its independence and funding. I'm going to request that motion please be brought up on the screen. Looking to you, Councillor Ball, just to confirm that is your motion. Take that as moved and seconded by Councillor Gladys Liu. Back to you, Councillor Ball.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Vic Health should be known to everyone. It's been around for nearly 40 years, since 1987, and it was a world first. It was the first public health promotion foundation in the world designed to promote health and prevent chronic disease in Victoria through research, policy development, health initiatives and public awareness and behaviour change campaigns. It was created in 1987 with multi-partisan support because it made so much sense, and if anything in the intervening years, it has proven its tremendous worth. Its founding challenge was to wean sporting organisations off tobacco sponsorship. And since then, smoking rates in Victoria have plummeted to roughly half what they were. So what a great achievement and prevention of great disease and suffering that would have resulted double the rate it is today. Its other groundbreaking, life-saving work has included banning tobacco advertising, funding the Quit Helpline, tobacco harm reduction research, which is some of the world-leading research in this area, and the SunSmart campaign, which of course is vital in the country with the world's highest rates of melanoma. Its other activities are far too many to list, but among them, the Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden program in schools, which teaches children to grow vegetables and to cook, the This Girl Can program, which supports women and girls to be active, and the Victorian breast screening and community-based cervical screening programs. It's unequivocal that Vic Health has saved lives and saved huge public expenditure. The state government is proposing to abolish Vic Health for its functions to be absorbed into the Department of Health with no additional funding for that purpose. This is a false economy. It's blind to the importance of Vic Health's independence from both political and commercial influence, and its role in preventing disease and avoidable suffering that would cost far more to treat than to prevent. The political editor of The Age has written that anyone who can do arithmetic should be outraged by this move. He goes on, the federal government estimates that every dollar spent on public health saves $14.30 in future health costs. What a return on investment. If we don't want tomorrow's hospital bills to swallow our state and national finances, we need to find and fund better ways of convincing people to eat better, drink less alcohol, and exercise more. He goes on, today's modest budget savings will be quite literally a killer in years to come. And despite leading the world in creating Vic Health, Australia now ranks 27th out of the 36 OECD countries in the proportion of health dollars it spends on preventive health. And within Australia, Victoria spends the least per capita of any state or territory. So Victoria needs to increase, not cut to zero, its spending on public and preventive health. So this motion calls for a reversal of this short-sighted decision to axe Vic Health and to safeguard both its funding and, critically, its independence to advance public health in only the public interest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Dr. Ball. Councillor Gladys Liu.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and I want to thank Councillor Dr. Ball for your motion. It is very meaningful. I think we need to tell the state government that stop. As the portfolio lead for community health and city services, and being a strong advocate for health and fitness, through my work as a fitness instructor, I'm pleased to second your motion. And public awareness of health and fitness is so important. And Vic Health plays a critical role in keeping our communities healthy, active, and well. I won't repeat what Councillor Dr. Ball has said, but I just wanted to say Vic Health has been an independent voice for prevention, delivering tangible outcomes that will have a long-lasting benefit to our health system. So without spending too much time on it, I just want to say partnership with Vic Health and the City of Melbourne has been able to deliver community benefits on many fronts, including alcohol harm prevention, tobacco and vaping reduction, supporting for healthier food environments, and provide valuable professional development for our officers. So there are a lot more to be done, so it would be silly to withdraw the funding and put Vic Health or all this work back into the Department of Health, and with that would easily be just absorbed and forgotten and overlooked to do. So I strongly support the motion, and tonight we are here calling on the Victorian government to maintain Vic Health, its independence, and most importantly, the funding. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Councillor Gladys. Lou, any other councillors wish to speak to this item? No, in that case, we'll put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. I'm going to declare that carried unanimously. And we move on. Agenda item 8, urgent business. Are there any items of urgent business? No, there are not. Then we move to agenda item 9, closure of the open meeting. I must say, after a fairly slow start, we've made good progress, councillors. Do you have a question, Councillor? Okay, you just want. All right, I'm calling a councillor to move a motion closing the open meeting. Thank you, Councillor Camillo, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Rouse. All those in favour of closing the open meeting, raise your hand. That's unanimous. So this meeting's closed at 6:32 p.m.